Hey everyone, my name's Abby and welcome to Brown and Bougie, the podcast about me, a brown girl living in a bougie world.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Brown and Bougie. So today's a bit of a different kind of podcast. It's a bit of an appreciation podcast, a tribute podcast, and a show some love kind of podcast. So this year, 2018, marks my parents' 25th wedding anniversary. So I guess you kind of know how old I am from this, and you kind of give or take a couple of years, however you want to put it, whatever. But my parents have been married for 25 amazing years, I guess. And today I'm just basically going to share their story, share what my opinions of their relationship is and how they're my role models, they're my rocks, they're my stars, and they are literally the most important people to me. And I know that's a very cliched thing to say, but my parents mean everything to me. And if you know who I am, and if you know me personally, you know that for me, no matter what my parents say to me, they will always be everything I live for. That's just how I see it. I just wanted to kind of share their story with you and actually show you that true love comes in all kinds of ways, and there's no one way to fall in love, kind of thing. So my parents are the biggest examples of how you don't have to be in love before you get married to someone. So their story basically started in about 1992/1993. And my dad is actually my uncle, so my mum's first brother's friend. In this day and age, I guess it's kind of a weird concept, I would never, ever, ever think of my friend's brother as in a romantic way. But back in the day, I think it was kind of an okay thing or whatever. And my parents they didn't have a love marriage, they had an arranged marriage. And so my uncle was, trying to get my mum married off. And my dad seemed like a cool guy. Back in the day, my dad, was like a cool bachelor, had his bachelor pad with his friends and stuff. And my mum was studying, and she was living with my aunt and her brother-in-law, so my uncle. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I guess they got arranged, got fixed, as Tamil people say. And yeah, I guess the rest is history from there. And I think I always tell people that my parents didn't have much opportunities to get to know each other or anything like that. They pretty much met a few times in big groups of people, hardly spoke one-to-one. And remember, back in the day, mobile phones, technology, computers was a rare thing. So the only way you communicate with someone is actually to physically go and see them or send them letters, in the post and stuff like that. So my parents had a very typical kind of get to know thing. And then the next thing you know, they had their civil wedding. Then 2 weeks later, they had their Tamil wedding, and it was a super small wedding. I remember Amma and Appa saying that, Amma and Appa mean mum and dad. You probably figured that one out. But I remember Amma and Appa saying that they had their wedding at Archway Temple. This really small temple in Highgate Archway, so North London area. And it was really small, really basic, just very close friends. At the time, my dad didn't actually have any siblings here. So one of his close friends was actually the maid of honor and things like that, whatever. So if you don't actually know, just fun fact, I guess, but Tamil weddings, how they operate is the maid of honor is the groom's sister, and then the best man is the bride's brother. So that's how it works. I guess it's supposed to be a concept of bringing families together. So that's how it works. But yeah, my dad actually didn't have any of his siblings here. And he pretty much just had one of his close girlfriends there as his maid of honor, because that was the next best thing he had to his sister, basically, and stuff. So my parents got married in a really small temple, whatever, and then pretty much moved into a 1-bed flat on top of a house. And then I was born pretty much before their first wedding anniversary and stuff like that and whatever. And I think more than anything, my parents have they have an amazing relationship, and I will always touch all the woods in the world, and I don't want any, it ever to, I just want it to stay the same as it is. And I think my parents are the most opposite people ever. And they, for me, are the example of true love does exist. And more than anything, you don't have to be the same person to fall in love with someone. You don't. And if you know my parents, my dad is loud, short-tempered, super funny kind of guy. He's so loud. You can hear my dad from a mile away. And I always tell people that, my dad is jokes. Everyone literally finds my dad so funny. I guess he's a bit funny, whatever. But then my mum, on the other hand, is very sensitive, super quiet, and she's a very patient person. So I think for them, it is an opposites attract thing. And actually their differences actually complement each other really, really well, because if my dad says something, my mum will listen to it and kind of negotiate and compromise. And my mum's very strong as well. Like, if she has to hold her ground down with something, then she will do it 100%. And I think kind of bringing me and my sister up, me and my sister are very different people, personalities wise and things like that. And I think the times that we were brought up in, like, I know my sister was definitely more like kind of exposed to technology a lot earlier than I was. And that's just, you know, the years we were born. But we both turned out fine. More than fine, actually. I don't think we've never got to a point where my parents were like, you know, embarrassed to be our parents, kind of like, we've never done that to them. And I think more than anything, it's like, we know that they've worked so hard to get us to where they are. And I think between them, in order to get to where they are today, I think they worked really well as a team. And I think it's so inspirational about them too. And yeah, they're different. And yeah, they argue. What couple doesn't argue? I'm not even going to hide that. My parents argue. I'm sure you and your partner argue. I'm sure your parents argue. And there is no such thing as an argumentless relationship. I probably just made that word up, by the way. But anyways, I don't believe in relationships like that. You need to have, like, if it's always that the guy says something, for example, the girl just says yes, or vice versa, that's so boring. Like, you want dynamic in your relationship. You want something to talk about and argue about and debate about and discuss and things like that, or whatever. And I think between my parents, they have a very, like, really good understanding between them. And I think growing up, it was very like, I grew up basically in a very stereotypical kind of house. So my dad was the guy who dealt with all the bank statements, dealt with all the, I guess, the DIY stuff, the car stuff, everything to do with that was my dad. So if I ever needed like money, if like the light bulb needed fixing, it was always go to Abba. Whereas if it was anything else, so if it was to do with our school, was to do with like our health, going to the doctor's appointments, anything like that was always Amma. And that was it. So my dad and mum used to always, I don't think they would like sit and discuss, you know, this is how we're going to bring them up. And I don't think they ever discuss it. They just took every day as it came. And then that's how they brought us up. So I know that it would always be like, I would tell my mum something like, oh, Amma, can I go here? And she'd be like, no. And then I would try and like, you know, negotiate with my dad. And then my dad would be like, oh, what did Amma say? And I'd be like, oh, Amma said no. He's like, well, if Amma said no, then I'm going to have to kind of say no. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever. But if my dad felt it was irrational, they'll go and have a conversation about it. So it was kind of like that. Like, they had a really good understanding between them, and they still do to this day. And remember, there's no good or bad way to have a relationship, to be in a relationship. Every relationship is different, and every relationship is just its own. There's no such thing as this is how you're supposed to do it, and this is what you should do to be happy. But more than anything, my parents communicate well. They trust each other, and they're honest to each other. They don't hide anything. They tell each other everything. And I think for me, that's inspirational. Like, that's a relationship that I want. I want something to look at and think, you know what, actually, this relationship is amazing. I'm comfortable in this relationship. They've never, ever, like, yeah, they argue. And I always say, like, they definitely fell in love after they got married. There is life after marriage and there's love after marriage. And I really strongly believe that, especially looking at my parents. And there's relationships where I've seen where like true love exists, and I will never ever think that, oh, you know, I'm not worthy of it or anything like that. I honestly just think it's about compromise. It's about understanding. And for me, like, my parents inspire me to be a bit better person, to be a bigger person in every way possible. And from both of them, there's some things that I learned more from my dad than I did from my mum, and vice versa. It's just together, they're parents to me and they work well, right? And I guess it's kind of just like an appreciation to just basically say that I think my parents are inspirational and they're amazing. And yeah, they didn't have the most typical kind of love story. Like, literally, my dad and mum probably like met, I want to say like 4 or 5 times, and then like the fifth time or whatever, 5th time, that doesn't make any sense. The 5th time or whatever, they literally had their civil wedding. 2 weeks later got married, and then the next day they moved in together. And 25 years later, they are more in love than they ever could be. My dad and mum would always be together, and that's something that I know for a fact, because my parents can't live without each other. Like, oh my god, literally my parents can't live without each other. Like, there was one time that I think my mum went to Sri Lanka because her dad passed away and stuff like that, and my dad was like, oh, did you call Amma? What is she saying? Okay, all right, fine. And then his mood that whole week was just off. Like, he wasn't the guy I knew. And like literally, Amma didn't go anywhere. She just literally went to go and see, like, it was just like she went to Sri Lanka with her friend, with her family, and literally like he was just like, oh, okay, well, did you speak to her? Okay, she didn't text me. Oh, okay, all right, fine, and stuff. And it was just so weird to see. And I always tell them, I was like, they can't live without each other one bit. And it doesn't matter what kind of argument they get into, no matter what, they will go and sleep in the same bed as each other, and they will do that. I was like, me and my sister, for example, like, because like, you know, me and my sister argue a lot and whatever and stuff like that. But I was like, if I argue with my sister, I will literally just go in my room and just lock myself in. Whereas my parents, no matter what they say, no matter how much they argue, at the end of the day, they're still sleeping in the same bed. So every relationship is different. But for me, like, Amma and Appa, like, their relationship is just amazing. We now, at our age, like, for us, like, not being in love before you get married is a weird concept now. And don't deny it, because that's how it is. The concept of not being in love before you get married to someone, before you make the sacrifice of, like, ending up with someone for the rest of your life. Like, people now would just be like, oh no, I'm not going to get married to someone I don't know. But back in the day, that's how it was. You hardly knew the person. So at the end of the day, do you change? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Because to be honest, like, back in the day, I know my grandma got married pretty much like, I think she saw my grandpa for the first time, like, on the stage they were getting married at. Like, I think that's the first time that my grandma and grandpa saw each other. But at a point like that, you just don't have a choice. But I guess that was the norm back in the day. Like, my grandma was born in like 1930, like, so that was the norm in like the, say, 40s, 50s or whatever. And you used to get married really young. So you're kind of just married off, I guess. And you just kind of got to get on with it. And I guess once you're like a woman and stuff, they will bring you up to just kind of be there for your husband and whatever. And I don't think love was something that was talked about. But then again, my grandma and grandpa couldn't live without each other. So love is a weird thing. It's shown in so many different ways and stuff. And I think this generation, I guess, we have a lot more, like, we have the ability to be opinionated. We can say, no, I don't want to sleep next to him today, or no, I don't want to argue, and no, I'm going to walk out. And we have the ability to do that because everyone's independent in their own way. Everyone has something going for themselves. Whereas I guess the generations above, they're dependent on each other, like, so much. You know, like, I definitely know that the generation now, we have a lot more independence than the generations above did, for sure. And that's my opinion. Whether or not you agree and disagree is a different situation. But no matter what, I think it's kind of inspirational to see that, you know what, you can fall in love just by seeing someone 5 times and stuff. And you just got to learn to fall in love. And there's nothing wrong with falling in love after you get married. Having said that, would I do it? Probably not. I don't think I would ever get married to someone and then be like, oh yeah, maybe I'll fall in love with him. I don't think I would ever do that. But then again, that's just the way we were brought up. That's the way our culture is, our society is. So that's life, right? I guess I kind of just want to finish off by saying happy anniversary, Amma and Appa. Thank you so much from the bottom of mine and my sister's heart for everything that you guys have done. You guys are so inspirational in every single way possible. I hope you both stay so happy, smiling, laughing, fighting, everything. And honestly, like, anyone who knows you both will always say that you're like one of the happiest couples that they know. And thank you for having us, and thank you for exposing us to the fact that love will always be something that will be we will be surrounded by. So yeah, I don't want to get emotional, but yeah, I guess I just really want to say thanks. So today's tune of the day is again from one of my favorite composers, A.R. Rahman. It is from the movie Cylinder Kadal, in which the hero and heroine actually fall in love after they get married. And it's a really nice story. It's a really cute movie. And it's kind of about how, you know, his past comes back to haunt him, but no matter what, their relationship is still strong. So I guess the movie's a really nice movie to watch, but the song from this movie that I have chosen today is a very wedding kind of song. You always hear it at every single wedding that you go to. So obviously, because it's my parents' anniversary, I thought I'll play this song. I'm sure that if this song had been released in 1993, they would have played it at their wedding, but obviously it didn't. But yeah, the song for today is Kummiyadi. It is a very typical Tamil song, has kind of a bit of Ghana, a bit of Kuttu, a bit of traditional music, and kind of really brings all of kind of South India, Sri Lankan, Tamil kind of music types together. So it's a great song, so I hope you enjoy it. And once again, happy anniversary, Amma and Appa. And I hope you guys have the best day. Thanks again. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my SoundCloud channel, and also follow me on Instagram at brownandbougie__. I hope you all have a great day wherever you are. I'm sending all the love, all the positive vibes, and stay smiling, stay you, and don't forget to tune in next time. See you soon. Bye.